Everybody on?
Sir.
Here we go. Welcome. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Let the record show that this is a regular city council meeting held on Tuesday, January 19th. All members of council are present and the press has been duly notified. Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Item number 1 on the agenda is public comments. There was a sign-in sheet in the front of the door there for signing up for council comments, and the first person on there is John Sherwood. If you would step to the microphone, state your name, address, rank, social security number, and Katie, would you hit the button there, please?
John Sherwood, Deputy 10035, Pepper Place, new address, can't remember it. First, I just want to say, you guys, welcome aboard. For the new council guys, I know we were here last time to welcome you on, but it's the first time, getting a chance to see you here. There you go. Now I get less time. That's
There you go.
So let me just get right going because I have less than 3 minutes here. Couple things. RFP process that we have. I saw the deadline switched from the December timeframe that we had it originally to now till today. I don't remember that being a part of conversation in this area. So I was I'd like to have that be disclosed in the future, stuff like that be disclosed to the public if we could. I get notifications from the city. I think it's awesome. I think you guys focused on better communication with the public as we were going through the whole election cycle. That's really great. But if we can actually send, when you're talking about a text, if you're referencing a page on the website, just put the link in so we can click it with the phone. I mean, that'd be really, really helpful. So just a helpful thought. Bring us to the point of interest, because it's not easy dancing around the website sometimes. And if we could do that with the council meetings and the agenda notes and stuff too, when you send that out through the notifications and texts or emails, just a link, bing, and you're there. That'd be pretty helpful. As we go forward with the council, we could focus on a better and freer citizenship in Tega versus more worrying about how much you guys do with more and more legislation or ordinances and stuff. That'd be awesome. Like if we could minimize some of the stuff that we do versus creating more stuff, nifty. I think that would be really cool if we could do that as a council. And at some point during the fall, Jennifer brought up we were trying to streamline or clean up some of the ordinances, and there was a new issue that popped up, that bubbled up from staff. If we could communicate that better, I think, with the public, whether we have a forum or we have a discussion, what problem are we trying to solve? When we have to go through these submissions and conversations here in council, what are we trying to solve when we go through these things? Like, what's the issue? What really is bringing it up? Why are we addressing it as a city? That would be helpful for better reception from the public if we understood, because there's probably a reason. I mean, there's probably very, very good reason. But when you're just sitting home and it just lands in your lap, it's easy to get kind of locked up in the details. Of course, we want council to be brought up to speed on some of the open issues that we have. And then when questions are brought up, like we're doing here, public comments, if there could be a place where we can actually go and see the public comments that are in the transcripts or whatever, in the agenda minutes, and see what the answers ultimately are, collectively as a people, instead of one person getting the answer later on by themselves. That would be really helpful because we don't repeat the same questions over and over and over again. Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you, John.
If I could just ask one thing, John, when you open up your email, because when I got that email alert, like about a council agenda, a workshop or whatever it may be, I do see a link where you could immediately click on to see the agenda. Is this an issue? Are you opening on your phone or your
I'm doing it on my
computer?
text. I get a text notification
Okay.
versus an email.
Okay.
So
it's
if we
through
could get it on the text,
email.
that would be great.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you. I
thanks.
just want to
Yeah,
clarify. Thank
thank you.
you.
I'm not being rude, I'm not leaving, it's just that this seat decides that it wants to go lower than I actually want it to. So I'm just gonna arrange the furniture, if you guys don't mind, talk amongst yourselves. Here we go.
That was Ryan's newly practical joke.
That's what it was? Thanks, Ryan, appreciate it.
Welcome to council.
There you go, thank you. Des, I'm sorry. Thank you. If you would step to the mic.
My name is Vincent DeRoche. I live in Tega on Topsail Circle. And the point of my conversation today with you is simply with regard to the growth in the 160 area and the relevant building construction and so forth. I understand that everybody has been talking about this, thinking about this, et cetera, and there's not a huge gathering of people here today because the agenda for today's meeting was very limited. So this may be premature. Perhaps you're going to deal with this in a broader sense later, but I would ask the council to consider a moratorium on growth until you can properly assess the impact that it's going to have across all of Tega, not only from the obvious traffic concerns, but a bunch of different and secondary concerns as well, including, and not the least of which, is what's the long-term cost to Tega going to be, both monetarily and in terms of quality of living and the quality of life of the people that are here, and even the people that may wish to come here. I came here after living in a different state for most of my life because I was looking for a certain quality of life, a certain tax base, and just a difference in all of in many of the things that Tega brings to people. However, in the 3 years that I've lived here, I've seen a double-digit tax rate increase on my home and an enormous amount of traffic that, had I even thought about that years ago, I would have seriously reconsidered, making a choice to come here. So it's not just for me I'm asking that. I'm asking you to consider the future impact and how that will impact everyone here. Because if people start leaving instead of coming, then there are many repercussions on everyone when that starts happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you do me a favor?
Sure.
And look at your tax bill? Because we have not done a tax increase in the city of Tega in 6 years.
I'll be happy to look at it.
That could be a York County tax increase, that could be a school bond issue, which we all voted for, but it is not, I'm sorry? Reassessments. But it is not a tax increase from the city of Tega. Again, we have not done one in 6+ years. So,
Well, having that comment.
I'm sorry. If you would step to the microphone again.
Sure. Just in response, when I think of a tax increase, I look at dollars going out of my pocket. So it may
Okay.
be, and is perhaps a good illustration of what I was talking about in terms of secondary consequences. If we do things here that encourage York County or the school system to expand even further, it could have enormous impact and unintended consequences, given what is the scope that is being considered in a particular event and all the things that were really not looked at. So that's really what I'm trying to get people to look at, because I'm sure that a vote on a moratorium on building will at least give people an opportunity to consider all of the many and complex issues that are truly involved in that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Are there any other public comments? There being none, close public comments. Council, do you have any adjustments to the agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I have one. I would like to make a motion to table items A and C to the February 1st special council meeting.
Under
Under
item
what
number
item?
5, right?
Item 5, yes, sir. Under item number 5.
So the motion before us is to table item number 5A and 5C. Motion by David O'Neill. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dottie Hersey. Any council discussion? There being none, call the question. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Item number 2 on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Council, before you are the minutes from December 21st and special city council meeting of January 4th. Are there any questions or deletions to those minutes? I just have 2. And Sylvia, I'm sorry, I tried to get you today. I have them highlighted here, so I'm going to give them back to you so you can correct them. Basically, all it is that council entered into, after a short break, council came back, and then you mentioned the fact that I made the comment that there were no votes taken, but we didn't, it wasn't an executive session, it was just a break that we took. So I'm just going to hand those back to you. So council, if I can get a motion based on my changes to that to approve the minutes, that would be great. So if someone wants to make that motion.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'd like to make a motion under item 2, approval of minutes of the December 21st and January 4th council meetings, that the minutes be accepted with the changes that you just put forward.
I have a motion by Dottie Hersey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jennifer Stalford. Any council discussion or any other changes to the minutes? There being none, call the question. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Item number 3 on the agenda is the Women's Club proclamation. And I'm going to go down there and do this. Michelle McGuire, would you come forward as the president of the Women's Club? If you would stand over here, that would be great. A proclamation from the city of Tega, South Carolina, recognizing the outstanding service of the Tega Women's Club. Whereas the city recognizes the outstanding community service provided by the Tega Women's Club, and whereas the Tega Women's Club has continued to serve the citizens of Tega and York County in countless ways by word and deed, and whereas the Tega Women's Club has demonstrated unparalleled commitment to the children of this community and a true source of joy in the spirit of Christmas, and whereas we extend the Tega Women's Club our appreciation for many hours they give to the city of Tega, whereas the Tega Women's Club is an integral component of a vibrant community that is the city of Tega, and one key organization that truly supports and fosters the good life within our community. Therefore, be it proclaimed that the mayor and the council of the city of Tega, on behalf of a grateful city, do hereby extend our sincere gratitude and appreciation to the Tega Women's Club for the dedication and service to the city of Tega. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
Item number 3B on the agenda is the oaths of office. We have the Board of Zoning Appeal with Amy McKimmey, if she would come forward. I'm going to ask you to come over here because this is my better side, because she's going to take some pictures. If you would do me a favor and just repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I am duly qualified,
that I am duly qualified,
according to the Constitution of this state,
according to the Constitution of this state,
to exercise the duties
to exercise the duties
of the office
of the office
to which I've been appointed,
to which I have been appointed,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge the duties thereof,
discharge the duties thereof,
and preserve,
and preserve,
protect,
protect,
and defend
and defend
the Constitution of this state
the Constitution of this state
and of the United States.
and of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the next is for the Stormwater Committee and Donald Olson. If you would come forward. If you would raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I am duly qualified,
that I am duly qualified,
according to the Constitution of this state,
according to the Constitution of this state,
to exercise the duties
to exercise the duties
of the office
of the office
to which I've been appointed,
to which I have been appointed,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge the duties thereof,
discharge the duties thereof,
and preserve,
and preserve,
protect,
protect,
and defend
and defend
the Constitution of this state
the Constitution of this state
and of the United States.
and of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Item number 4 on the agenda is unfinished business. City Manager Charlie Funderburk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Tonight before you is second reading of an ordinance to convey plus or minus 0.274 acres to Drake Gardendale LLC. As council will recall, during first read last month, this is a piece of property that was never intended to have been conveyed to the city from Drake Gardendale originally. But when they when they dedicated a large tract of their natural undisturbed open space, the surveyor included this tract. On March 16th, we did annex as an amendment to the Gardendale PDD into Pod E a certain section of property that would finish off the intended cul-de-sac at Arinka Court. And without deeding this .274 acres back to them, the 3 lots wouldn't meet their required widths and things of that nature. And this, again, would be the second and final read, and we would ask for council's favorable consideration at this time.
Council, entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, motion to approve second reading of ordinance to convey plus or minus .274 acres of real property to Drake Gardendale LLC.
I have a motion by Jennifer Stalford. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ryan Richard. Any council discussion? There being none, call the question. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Item number 5, item number 5 on the agenda, which is item number 5B, which is the discussion of Catawba Park plans. City Manager Charlie Funderburk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. At our last meeting, staff did bring a request to council to authorize Campco Engineering, the engineering firm selected previously by council for the Catawba Park project. Staff brought a requested action of council to authorize them to move forward with construction plans. During that meeting, City Council requested that we bring back scope of work not to exceed number. I asked Campco Engineering to break this out. Phase 1, summary of services, you can see, gives you basically the necessary design engineering plans for the property that is already owned by the city. And then you'll see a Duke Energy track, and that was contemplating doing 30% design on the parcel adjacent to us. And as you can see, for the acreage that the city owns, that design budget is $340,000. The 30% design on the Duke Energy property is $125,000. And I specifically had them break that up so that you could see what was what, for a total of $465,000. At this time, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to turn it over to you and council for discussion.
David, you had some questions this afternoon about this. Do you want to jump
Well,
in there?
And let me go by some memory, and that way I can reinforce it. This is going to be a park that's total cost is going to be about $12 million. And it's going to be done in 3 phases. And this, what we're under today, is the first phase of this total project, correct?
I don't know that I would say that it's definitely three phases. I think the number of phases is ultimately going to depend on the funding. I mean, it could be as many as 5, 6, 7 phases. But there's three distinct parcels, most certainly. One owned by Clear Springs, one by Duke Energy, and one by
Well,
the
that was
city.
going to be my next question, is the funding. We have the money to do this now. And could you please reiterate what the source of this funds were?
Yes, sir. Currently, in your Catawba Park Fund, you've got $929,227. Those funds came from city-owned, city H-Tax, as well as a fund transfer of $320,000 that the city had originally borrowed from Drake Capital. Those were to do a portion of this lower level when it was under construction. It was the repayment, if you will, back into Catawba Park of $320. You got approximately $400,000 of that came from city H-Tax funds, and about $225 and change that came from developer contribution from the Stonecrest development that had previously not been earmarked for a specific project, but it was money that was given as a fee in lieu of land, and it has to be used for public use. So council made the determination, I want to say about a year or so ago, maybe even a little bit longer, to identify those funds for Catawba Park. In addition to that, you still got approximately $236,000 that'll be coming from Drake Capital to finish off their contribution per the development agreement, which would take you to a rough estimate of about $1.165 million for Catawba Park, currently on hand right now. Potential funding sources for the rest of the park could be revenue bond on the city's H-Tax that we collect annually. We've submitted an application to York County for H-Tax from them. Hopefully, we'll see in the next month or two how that's going to shake out.
So what we're voting on today is actually going to be moving some dirt.
No, sir.
It's not-
What you're voting on today is to do the construction plans that will allow us to go out for bid for a contractor to come move the dirt.
Okay, thank you.
And what time frame do you project to be moving dirt?
It's probably going to take them anywhere between 4 and 5 months to get all the construction plans on the 10 acres done. That's going to include all of your site civil, your grading plans, utility plans, things like that. From that point, we would put it out for bid. Campco would assist us with that bid process. You're probably 30 to 60 days on your bid, probably another 30 to 60 days after that. It's probably by fall, pushing dirt. I would say early to mid-fall is a realistic time frame on our 10 acres at least, yes, sir.
Is there a way to receive the budget numbers for all the rest of these engineering services? When I've worked for a major company, you don't go piecemeal like this. It's
No,
step by step.
they've
I feel
got
like they
it-
know how
yes.
much we have to spend, and therefore they could ask whatever they really wanted.
Yeah, I can absolutely provide a total scope for the entire thing. For this one, broke it out just as our 10 acres and then the 30% design on the Duke. But it shouldn't be much at all, provided we don't change the site plan and, you know, things of that nature.
Okay.
Yeah, I can absolutely get that to council.
All right, and there were 2 attachments noted in our packet, but I
Yep.
did not see
The second
them.
attachment was just, it showed you the 3 parcels, and then the other one was just the site plan that was presented last go-around. Didn't
Okay.
include them in here because they were
Large.
full-size 11 by 17s and screwed up
Okay, but
the
no
PDF.
changes
But
since
no,
then.
no
Okay.
changes. But that's,
All right.
it was just showing you what was presented at the last meeting.
And have any new developments occurred regarding those parcels that we
No,
were
ma'am,
trying
not-
to acquire?
not
with
as
other
of yet.
entrants? Okay,
Not as of yet, no, ma'am.
fantastic.
Dottie?
Fine, thank you.
Thank you. Call the question. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
We
Aye.
didn't make a motion yet, did we?
Yeah, I don't
Didn't
think
you make the
so.
motion at the beginning?
No.
You're asking for questions.
How would you like
You
to
just-
make a motion? I'm sorry. I'm ahead of
No
myself.
problem.
Wow.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion authorizing the city manager to engage Campco Engineering to proceed forward with construction documents under the scope presented in the amount not to exceed $465,000.
I have a motion by David O'Neill. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dottie Hersey. I'll ask it anyway. Any
Yeah.
council discussion? There being none, call the question. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. I'm still on I-77. I'm sorry. Item number 5D on the agenda is the committee assignments. Every committee has a council liaison, and that council liaison serves for 6 months on that committee. They attend committee meetings, and they come back to council and inform council of what's going on in those meetings. So starting with the next meeting for the Community Relations Committee, I'm going to ask Ryan Richard to be the council liaison. For the Planning Commission, I'm going to ask David O'Neill to be the council liaison. And for the Stormwater Committee, I'm going to ask Dottie Hersey to be the council liaison. And then on item number 5E, which is a new thing that we're working on, which is an intergovernmental liaison. The idea came with a conversation that I had with Patrick White, who is the school board chair, and Gwen Savage, who's the new mayor over in Fort Mill. The three of us sat down last week, had a pretty lengthy discussion, and one of the things that we thought was that we'd each have a liaison from each one of our councils that would interact together separately with the councils, but yet bring back information to the council as to what's going on with the school board or what's going on with Fort Mill, so that we're all aware of what's going on. At this time, I'd like to ask Jen Stalford to take on that role and be the intergovernmental liaison between the town of Fort Mill and the school board and the city of Tega. Item number 6 on the agenda is the city manager's report. City Manager Charlie Funderburk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few brief things tonight. Council, just to make sure that everybody's got it on your calendar, workshop on February 1st at 6 p.m., and we'll do it in the conference room at in the lower level City Hall. Hometown Legislative Action Day in Columbia on February 2nd. I think most of y'all have already RSVP'd with Sylvia. I know some of you are going down the day before for your MEO training, which is great. If you haven't RSVP'd yet, if you could let Sylvia know as soon as possible, because that date's going to be here pretty quickly. We've got some more information we're going to be sending out to you on this next event. February 23rd from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. Is York County Day. It's a York County Chamber of Commerce event. Again, that'll be on February 23rd from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Columbia Convention Center. And Sylvia is going to be getting you some more information on that here in the next day or two as to whether you would like to attend. Let's see. We did receive 2 proposals from qualified firms for the RFP that was put out for the fire station. Staff has pretty much completed reviewing those proposals and should be able to make a determination by tomorrow, notify those groups. Once we've gone through the design elements and get a firm cost, construction cost from that, we're going to bring that group to City Council along with the design and the pricing and potential funding for Council's consideration. It's probably going to be at your March regular meeting. So at this point, we're identifying the most qualified, best qualified group for this project. And again, we'll bring funding sources, potential cost, design, and things like that to you for council's consideration and for y'all to be able to make a decision at that time. And the last thing I have, Mayor, is obviously we sent out a PSA today, went out on our auto dialer as well as our website and things of that nature about coyotes. We had a lot of activity, we'll say, last night. Our police department is very well aware, specifically our night shift folks, and we'll be keeping a vigilant eye out in the areas where we had sightings near residential and on residential properties and even on some city streets. And we're actively setting up, we've actually got one meeting with a private contractor at the end of this week just to discuss with them what could be done. Yeah, obviously we're very well aware based on our deer study how folks feel about hunting things inside the city. We got that message very loud and clear. But we're going to discuss with them. We've already had conversation with DNR. Their advice to us was call one of these 2 contractors, and we've reached out to both, setting up meetings. talk with them, and then we'll get back with council, and obviously we'll keep the public informed as new information becomes available. But, definitely don't let your pets out at night. Keep them on a leash, keep the food inside, that kind of thing. And if you see something, call 911 immediately. Let them know what area, so they can dispatch an officer. Please don't confront the coyote. If you see one, let our officers come and do that for you. So, and with that, that's all I've got for this evening.
Before you go away from that comment, today I received a phone call from Katie, which was an auto dial. I don't know if everyone's received that or if they've signed up for the auto dial or not. If you haven't, it's a great thing, and I really think that you should sign up for it. You're going to find out what's going on in the city if it affects your area. It can be pinpointed to a specific area if there's something going on, or there can be a general call that goes out to the entire city. If you have not signed up for it, how do you do that?
Just go to the front page of the website. It's called Code Red. Click on it. Step by step, very, very easy. It's Windows-based. Click, type in your name, type in your info. Takes 2-3 minutes.
Okay.
Charlie,
Thank
you
you.
said there was a lot of coyote activity last night. I mean, was it just a lot of sightings of them, or did something happen? Somebody
We
got
had
hurt?
one incident with a pet, and then several sightings in different locations of the city, which we've heard about it here and there. Hey, I saw one, and it was out in the woods, or it was under the power line right away. But now to start getting reports of them climbing a back fence, walking down the road. There was an
Yeah.
unfortunate incident with somebody's pet. It escalated a little bit last night. We're not sure why. Maybe it was just a one-time thing. Not really sure, but we're definitely looking into it and seeing
Now,
what
they're
we can
getting
do.
more and more bold. I mean, we kind of took away their land, so they're out there. I mean, I saw one walking down my street. I said, darn, what's that, a dog? I
We
was
didn't,
like,
we
"Oh,
didn't take the
heck."
coyotes' land. They're not indigenous to South Carolina.
Yeah, well, but they've been here quite some time. I don't think anybody brought them in. But anyhow, I hear them every night. They really howl loudly and make a whole lot of racket, and they're petrifying just to hear them, so.
Council,
Did I
any
vote
questions
for-
for Charlie?
I do have one.
Go ahead.
Since I'm on a roll. And I'd like to ask my fellow council members to support this. And this is not a vote, this is just something that I'd like to see happen at our regular meetings. As everybody knows, we spent a heck of a lot of money a year ago buying the utility system. And we know that there is a whole lot of work being done, and many of us got email, I think it was today, that talked about some of the things that are happening. But I'd like to believe that, because we've spent so much money, and because this is such a big project, I'd like to ask for you to report on it. I don't know if it needs to be reported on every council meeting. It depends on how much activity there is, I guess.
Sure.
But I personally would like to get an update on what's the status of the work effort. What are the
ma'am.
repairs being done? What's coming up next? When's the tank leaving? How many spills have we had, if any?
Sure.
How many gallons of sewage are being taken out by truck? I mean, just information to keep us updated
Yes, ma'am.
on a more regular basis, which keeps the citizens updated as well.
Absolutely, we can. That's something we've been talking about at the staff level, even to the extent, and now the preliminary work, I'll say, starts up next week in the Molokai area.
Yeah.
And one of the things we talked about at the staff level is actually creating a page on our utility page with constant updates, construction schedules, as they get updated and things like that, so that the general public that's interested can keep up with it. But as far as specific info like you're requesting, we most certainly can do that, either added to my manager's report as need be, or definitely information going out to the residents. Not a problem.
I mean, I would appreciate that. I don't know if it has to be an agenda item or just be in your report.
We've
but-
got to report all that info to DHEC anyway, so not that big of a deal to also include it to council and the residents.
Appreciate it.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Charlie, I get asked a lot, if you could just comment on all the flags that are along Tega Drive, what those.
SCDOT marking the edge of their right-of-way. At first, I thought it was because they're going to be doing a lot of storm drainage work on TK Drive, so that it doesn't flood, and everybody that's driven TK Drive in the rain knows exactly where it's going to flood, fixing those spots. And then I saw the flags go all the way out to Palmetto. I'm not sure why that is. It could be part of the same project, but all it's doing is DOT marking the edge of their right-of-way.
Thanks.
Speaking of Tega Drive, I know a little while ago, at a meeting a little bit ago, you talked about there being being repaving by the state.
Yes, ma'am.
Which obviously isn't gonna happen right now, or I assume it's not in the winter.
Correct.
But, after we had that rain that never stopped, we got a lot more holes on
Yes, ma'am.
Tega Drive. Are somebody gonna help us do something with those?
The staff's already reached out to DOT and is doing so on a daily basis until they show up to repair the potholes that have
Thanks.
washed out recently. Yes, ma'am.
Charlie, how about River Falls? I know you sent an update to us, but
Yes, ma'am.
I have a lot of residents concerned what's going on with that.
River Falls is the Eastwood project directly across from TK Elementary School. During their initial timbering phase, their contractor began some stump removals, which they weren't allowed to. They also impacted wetlands and identified stream bed. We got the Army Corps of Engineers involved. They had certain mitigation requirements of the contractor. Those have pretty much all been completed per Army Corps standards. We have now issued them a somewhat limited grading permit that allows the demolition of the home, which obviously that took place today, and cleaning up those debris piles, getting their silt fence installed and things of that nature. But they can only work up to the first impacted area until Army Corps signs off and releases the entire project. So we're able to find a way to get them started, to start cleaning up some of that eyesore and get that development moving. But they've still got several months ahead of them before they really start able to push dirt, start putting in infrastructure, things like that. It's still going to be a little while, but at least they're able to start cleaning the site up.
Okay, great. And for the deer population survey, are we still on track for it to be presented at the next council meeting?
SCDNR hasn't told us differently, so yeah, our plan is at your February 16th meeting to have a representative from SCDNR here to present their report to you guys.
Great.
And one last thing on River Falls, Charlie, what's the ingress and egress proposed plans there? Are we gonna be putting up another light across from the elementary school?
No, sir.
People trying to make a left turn out at 5 PM
That was something that the developer had to deal with. They're not going to be signalized. They tried to get access egress points at different locations, but obviously we're not able to acquire the necessary property from the other property owners. Their access egress is going to be lined up across from the bus entrance to the school. It will not be signalized. I'm going to keep saying this until it goes in, so that people don't think it's, we haven't talked about it. There will be a signalized intersection at Hubert Graham Way,
Of course.
which is just past the school. So there will be a stoplight there. So when it goes in about 10 to 12 months, I keep telling different groups that I'm in front of, it's coming. It will be there. So, but there won't be anything in between Shoreline and Hubert Graham Way as far as signalization.
And for
So-
the record, we don't determine signalization.
That is correct. SCDOT will.
SCDOT does.
As
So
it's their road,
People
yes.
also sometimes are not clear on that as well.
And that's gonna be, what, 150 homes?
No, I think it's about 110, 120. I think it maxes at 130, but based on new wetland buffers, as those have increased because of the impacted areas, their number of lots have come down. I think it started in the county at about 170 and came to us at about 140, and now they're at about the 120.
Charlie, we were just discussing, David and I were, is it possible for us to do a city utility department Facebook page? The reason why I asked that
Sure.
is because a lot of people get their Facebook on their phone as opposed to going to the city website. So that you combine the two of them if possible, so that whatever you put on the website, you also put on the Facebook page.
Sure.
And that's easier for people to catch. Is that?
We can most certainly look into that. I don't see why we
Perfect. That'd
couldn't
be
figure
great.
something out.
Any other questions for Charlie? Item number 7 on the agenda is public comments. Are there any public comments? Hearing none, we'll go on to item number 8, council comments. Ms. Hersey?
No comments.
Mr. Richard?
I just hit real brief on when John stood up and talked about the growth as well as the communication that we're looking at to discuss both of your guys' public comments. And I think we have a long ways to go as far as for digging in, look at the opportunities as well as the limitations to the growth that has occurred and that's planned and that we're looking at. Fortunately, we get to discuss a lot of that in the very near future on February 1st for the special council workshop. And so I look forward to discussing those issues and getting the information back out to you guys, the public, the people that are sitting here today, as well as the ones watching on TV. Our focus is to get the information out so you guys know exactly what's going on and know what this council is thinking and what direction we're going into. And that's it.
Thank you. Jen?
I wanted to follow up with John Sherwood. It's kind of tags onto that. I was the liaison for the Planning Commission. I see one of the members is here tonight. I just wanted to follow up regarding the Ordinance 77 for the sign portion that needs to be just looked at, simplified, based on our comprehensive plan that the community was heavily involved in. We're going to be including that as part of our workshop. So that is public. Everyone can attend. You can hear what we're thinking of. I know sometimes we don't have public comment, so I don't really know if that's included, Charlie.
Typically, we
Okay.
don't at a workshop because council's not taking action on things. It's
Okay.
more of a discussion, roundtable discussion amongst council, so.
So it doesn't, it should not prevent you from wanting to come, because then you can really hear all the discussion, and then you have time to contact any or all of us, meet with us before we then, if we're going to take action at the, following committee meeting. So don't hesitate, but that's just to let you know about what's going on with that. I want to let everyone know that Beautification Committee, they're not going to be meeting this week as normal, but they had 619 and a half hours volunteering last year. And their number of volunteers have decreased, but their hearts are obviously still in it because that's a lot of hours. The majority of their hours are spent in the Living Memorial Gardens, so we're really grateful for their time and their talent. But they're always looking for more volunteers, and you do not have a green thumb to be involved. Tonight, the Women's Club, Michelle, I'm so proud of our hardworking Women's Club. Such an active in our community. And I wanted to thank them on behalf of Beautification Committee because without their donation, the Living Memorial Gardens would not have had the free little library, which is used by all ages. And in fact, we have so many books donated, we have to have some purged out and stored until it goes down in volume. And Michelle actually, her husband told me, has a little library in her garage, so that she puts timely books in there. So if she sees Valentine books in, she'll put it in with that season, or Christmas books. So I really appreciate all their work in the community. And I wanted to present to council, my council members, previously we had in our budget to have a sidewalk connecting TK Drive along the corner of the intersection TK Drive and Shoreline Parkway. It's along the sidewalk where the fountain is located. There's no sidewalk there. You have to go through the trail
Behind it.
to go up the asphalt
Right.
and cross there. So in a previous budget, we had it included, but then when the stoplight went in, some changes would had to have been modified, and it would have driven the cost up greatly. So it was taken out, and Charlie has researched it, everything for, and his staff has. So I would like for it to be included in the next workshop, for him to present what he found, what it would look like, what it would essentially cost for us to consider it, either way, moving forward. I don't
Any
see it as a
objections from council?
time-consuming
No.
event, so.
Good.
Okay, all right. Thank you, that's all.
David?
Yes, first I'd like to offer best wishes to Ralph Smith, who had a little accident. He's our 93-year-old citizen. You can't miss Ralph. He's 6'4", wears a big old cowboy hat. I just want to wish him get better. And next, I'd like to, on the behalf of the TEK Veterans Association, I know the chief is going to do, chief of police is going to do part of the polar plunge. He's going to jump into the Lake Wiley. Hopefully, it'll be really cold. He's raising money for the Special Olympics. I'd like to present on behalf of the TEK Veterans Association a check for $100 so that Chief can get closer to his goal to make sure he does take the plunge, and pray for snow that day. because it's a lot more fun that way. I'll give you the check after the meeting, Charlie, if you can give it to the chief. But that's that's from the Veterans Association. That's all I have.
I got a phone call from the chief asking if I would do that.
You should.
Not happening. I'll do
with
the
you.
I'll do the donut eating contest down in Rock Hill, but I ain't doing the polar bear
I'm
plug.
with you, babe. I'm with you.
Not gonna happen for me. Speaking of the fountain, can we turn it on?
It's turned off right now due to the temperatures.
Freezing weather.
It's been down for like weeks.
That's because you were
freezing.
doing work over
It
there.
hasn't been freezing for weeks.
Mine's on.
Yeah, your evening temperatures have been down in the 20s. Just trying to
Causing the
protect
coyotes
us.
to come out.
This is not the weather I signed up for. That's the only comments I have. Item number 9 on the agenda is the executive session. Council entertain a motion to go into
Mr.
executive
Mayor,
session.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, before y'all make that motion, I know we've had some discussions, obviously here tonight about the golf carts and the growth, and talking about those during our workshop on February 1st. As our city attorney will be out of town that date, if it pleases council, if you could perhaps amend your executive session items to include those 2 items to receive legal advice. That way, as we move forward into the workshop and everything with him not being there, at least you've had the opportunity to hear from your city attorney on it.
Legal advice on both issues?
Yes,
A
ma'am.
and C?
Yes,
A
ma'am.
and D? A and
C.
C?
A and C, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Dottie, would you like to make that motion?
I'd be pleased to.
First, you have to amend the agenda.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda at item 9, executive session, and add item B, to take legal advice from the city attorney on golf cart regulations and growth on the Highway 160 and Gold Hill Road corridors.
I have a motion by Dottie Hersey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jen Stalford. Any council discussion?
I believe this was brought up, both of these issues, to have the discussions in the public, not behind closed doors. And so I personally don't think this is the right way to go about it.
Okay, but when we take legal advice, we don't necessarily take legal advice in public. We're tabled the items on the agenda until the next meeting, but we want to take some legal advice from our city attorney because he won't be available at our workshop. So this is just allowing us to take that information now. It doesn't change
We'll
the
still
fact of
fully
having a
discuss it.
conversation in public.
Well, I mean, what is the,
I can't tell you what the legal advice is here. That's why it's being put on the on for executive
well, I was just wondering,
session.
how does he know what's going to be presented? We haven't presented it yet.
He doesn't, but he knows the topics and would like to just address us.
Bob, are you able to disclose it now, or?
You mean disclose it in public or talk to you in executive session?
In
This goes
public.
now.
Before you even have the discussion? Let me think a second. Gar, what do you think?
I mean, I understand that the whole point was to move it to February 1st to have, so we start the discussion process. We weren't
What
going to take
I,
any votes
what
on
I,
February 1st.
what I had intended to do is give you some legal parameters around these 2 subjects. And since I'm not going to be here, I don't know exactly what you're going to say, but I've got some general ideas of some parameters you need to consider when you're discussing it.
Can you recognize Sherwood? Is that within our statutory?
Come on.
Wait a minute, John.
Do we want to hold off the?
Is there anything, Bob, that you're gonna discuss with us that is gonna jeopardize our position on anything? I'm not quite sure.
I'm gonna talk about some potential legal exposure. I don't know if you consider that jeopardy or not.
I do.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, typically, it's the kind of advice I give you in executive session. So it's my suggestion that you take it in executive session, but I mean, if council as a whole wants it in public, I'll do it in public.
I would like it in executive session, and I understand that our 2 new members, one of your platforms and one of your desires is to get as much information in the public as is possible. I don't disagree with that, but since you are new, I'd like to suggest that you at least, maybe this time, allow this process to run its course so that you understand the kinds of discussions we take in executive session and you can be more sensitized to them. As I said before, us receiving information from the attorney in an executive session does not mean that we will not discuss these items, the items that were tabled tonight, in public. But he wants you, I believe, to have an understanding of some of the limitations or some of the traps for the unwary that we might have in having these discussions or in decisions that we might make going forward. He just wants to put us on notice about these to consider as we have our discussions at the workshop and as we come forward to the citizens with some ideas on these two topics.
Well, does that preclude me from discussing it out in public?
If
That
we-
I've received, that I've listened to it? Because I mean, I know what we're going to talk about.
Information and, well, I'll let the
think
city
so-
attorney.
I think some of what I talked to you tonight, you would want to talk about in public. We can do this, we can't do this because it's
Sure,
a
that's-
legal matter. I think you can. I think you can integrate what I would talk to you about tonight into your discussion in public. But I think as we get into discussion, executive session, you can make those determinations for yourself, what you think is appropriate to reveal to the public.
Well, I'm not opposed to listening to anything, so, okay, I can go for that. I'm not opposed to that, as long as I'm able to discuss it in public afterwards and
at
it's
the
part of my
workshop.
free dialogue with people.
But I think one caution, I don't want to, I'm probably taking this too far now, is we also have to be cautious with what you just said, because I know what you didn't say, Bob, was that we can talk about anything that we hear in executive session.
No, I'm just
'cause-
talking specifically about the
Okay.
golf carts. I mean, because I've researched it pretty hard, so I know what we're gonna discuss, so. And I mean, we've already discussed that. Part of my open dialogue with people who have golf carts has probably brought this up, so. If it's just receiving information, I don't have a problem with that.
You all right?
Sounds good. I'm all about listening.
Yep, we can listen.
Well, on that,
Jen, any comments? You good?
no.
Call the question, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Mr. Mayor,
Unanimous.
members of council, I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session for the purpose of having discussions incident to contractual matters regarding clubhouse food and beverages, and to receive legal advice on golf cart regulations and regarding growth on Highway 160 and Gold Hill Road corridors.
I have a motion by Dottie Hersey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jennifer Stalford. Call the question, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're in executive session.